And we're back with Tennessee Valley this morning. I want to thank Dwight for coming in. Also want to thank Teresa Warren telling us about the fundraiser for pancreatic cancer. And we're back now at 7:18, 54 degrees, and we have Rob and Ryan with us. And you know, Rob, you've really been losing weight, but I didn't expect it to.
He's literally shriveling up to nothing.
He really is. Rob, you look great. He's so small I can't even hear him talking this morning.
It's a pipsqueak voice. It's kind of like...
Yeah, he's doing great. Well, it's good to see you guys.
Well, you know, one of the problems when you lose as much weight as Rob has is that it starts to affect things like your alarm. And you know, so as you get to his weight, you know, as you near his ideal weight, you start to discover things like your alarm doesn't go off when it's supposed to. You don't end up at places when you're supposed to be there, and it makes things hard, really.
The whole life just falls apart when you start
struggle.
losing weight. And Rob, I'm surprised to see you here this morning.
Well, we're all surprised.
Yeah, we really are.
So, how have you been?
I have been busier than I want to be.
Yeah,
but sometimes that's a good thing. Keeps me out of trouble.
I heard you telling the gentleman from Fenimore's that you're redecorating your cabin with some flowers.
Well, I'm actually he's just doing some hanging baskets for me to hang on the front porch.
Yeah.
I've got a cabin and the porch wraps around on 3 sides. And I have no color because I ripped out the flower beds and it was just full of weeds anyway. And I drove up the other morning up the driveway and I thought, you know, I need a little color. So he's making me some big hanging baskets to hang on the front porch. And it's going to look real. He assures me it'll look real, even though they're going to be silk flowers. So that's what he's doing.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, what's going on in the world of Hollywood this weekend?
Wow, you know, this has been a big week from a Hollywood news standpoint. It's just been a lot of exciting announcements. You know, I don't know if you're a fan of Die Hard, but you know they just announced that they're doing Die Hard 5.
Didn't he get a little old for that?
Aren't we all?
I mean, he hardly made it through the last movie.
It's true. Yeah, but they're doing a Die Hard 5, and it's got a terrible title. They're calling it
Die Hard 6?
No, they're calling it A Good Day to Die Hard. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about, but anyway, but that's still, you know, if you're a fan of John McClane, it's still pretty exciting that he's coming back, you know. So hopefully they'll do a better job with it this time than they did with the last one, because it wasn't that great. So that's kind of exciting, but yeah, we've got three new movies, and but they're not all really new.
They're not?
They're not all really
the one, I saw a trailer on it last night. It has to do with the presidential candidate. The guy running for president.
Was it the Ides of March?
Ides of March.
Okay, that started last week.
Last week. See, I'm behind times. I didn't get to the movies in the last 2 weeks. I haven't been.
Right. That's the George Clooney movie that we talked about last week.
I'm getting mixed reviews on that. What are you hearing?
We both hated it.
Did you?
Yeah, it did not look. You know, the thing with, like we talked about, the thing with George Clooney is he either makes, you know, cutesy romantic comedies that are all right, or he makes really boring thrillers. And this kind of looks like it's going to be one of those boring thrillers.
Yeah. He doesn't strike me as the presidential type for that character, but he was great in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Everybody loves that one.
Yeah, that's a classic already. So anyway, that was last week. I'm behind the time, so let's catch up. What's coming out this weekend?
Let's start with the new one. So the new one, the new one, is called The Big Year.
The Big Year.
That's right. And this one stars, listen to this. If you're going to put together the perfect comedy cast, this one stars Owen Wilson, Steve Martin, and Jack Black.
Oh,
now that's a pretty killer little cast there. You know, you've got a quirky comedian, you've got a silly slapstick kind of guy, and then you've got like the straight man comedian with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
And so it's got all the elements. And this movie is about 3 bird watchers who are, it's a bird watching.
That's a bird watching movie.
It's about 3 bird watchers who are trying to compete with one another to be the first to spot the rarest bird in North America.
Oh.
And so wackiness ensues while they try to spot this. And they're all going it's one of those films where they all go trying to be friends about it, but they're actually really competing and sabotaging one another.
Oh, and Owen Wilson, I like what he did in Marley and Me.
And this is directed by the guy who directed Marley and Me.
Oh, really?
It is.
And of course, I love Jennifer Aniston in Marley and Me.
She is not in this movie.
I love her in about anything she does.
So she's up there with Talking Monkeys.
Yes, she is. Yeah, anything with Jennifer Aniston, I'll watch, basically.
Jennifer Aniston, Talking Monkeys, they're kind of the same.
Any of those, it's going to be great. So you're giving this movie a grade.
Well, you know, I got to be honest with you, Dan, the previews are terrible.
Are they?
They are. You know, you'd think when we talk about it, it sounds fantastic, but the previews are just awful. In fact, the previews make it look like it's a bucket list movie. It doesn't even mention that they're bird watching. You have to really watch. You have to know to pick up on that fact.
Yeah.
And so that kind of makes me hesitate, because part of the thing that I find so interesting about the movie is that it's about bird watching. You know, and that's so bizarre.
It seems like an interesting plot for a movie.
Right, but it's not conveyed in the
bird
trailers,
watching.
which makes me wonder, you know, do they not pull that off? I don't know. So I am going to grade it, but it's just barely. Just barely. Because, you know, part of the whole preview review that we do is we base it on what we know about the movie, and that includes those trailers.
Yeah.
And if the trailer's not any good, it's not going to make people want to see it.
So it maybe is a grade.
So it's just barely.
Maybe a want to be great. One of those.
Right.
Okay.
So.
And Rob, how do you grade this movie?
And that's exactly what I expected him to say.
Yeah, it just, I thought so too.
You know, his reviews are kind of predictable sometimes like that.
They are.
So.
Yeah, just kind of a deadpan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the next one is I guess since we're starting with the original stuff, we'll work our way back to the remake. So,
okay.
So falling right in the middle is The Thing. Now, The Thing is a prequel to the 1982 film The Thing, which was a remake of the 1951 film The Thing.
See, I remember that.
So if you've seen the original film from the 50s, you know, that's kind of this classic 50s sci-fi film, and it's based on a short story called, I think it's called Who Goes There, and it's kind of your classic sort of aliens take over people's bodies sort of short story, and it actually inspired the film Alien. It inspired the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You know, the story has inspired a lot of films, and with The Thing in the 1950s, they kind of adapted it into this classic sort of B-movie sci-fi, but it's actually pretty good, and it's got a really tight third act that's pretty fun. John Carpenter remade that film in the early 80s and kind of turned it into a John Carpenter film, which is kind of a little bit of a blood and gore splatter fest with some quirky humor, and Kurt Russell, you know, who was a staple. He was a staple of Carpenter films. And so the original thing, the original remake of The Thing from 1982 is also pretty good, and but in particular its second act is really strong, and it kind of just turns into a blood fest the last half hour.
Okay.
But if you recall, that movie opens with the dog bringing the alien in, and they're there to explore a Norwegian expedition that they've lost contact with. Well, the new film, The Thing, that starts today, is a prequel to John Carpenter's film, and it takes place in 1982, just days before that film, and it is the story of the Norwegian expedition. So, kind of brave, I guess, to do a prequel. You know, and apparently the director, who is a Norwegian, or he's Dutch. I'm sorry, he's Dutch. It's his first film, and he is really excited about trying to stay true to John Carpenter. So we'll see what that's like.
Well, are you giving it a grade or a hate?
You know, I'm going to have to give it a grade, because I think that they could have it's been long enough, they could have just remade, you know, John Carpenter's film or redone the book yet again. And they didn't. They tried to do something creative and a little courageous with it. And I think that that's commendable. And it looks like they're adding some of the modern. So speaking of adding modern horror, let's add a little modern horror to this
Adding
show.
a little modern horror. Rob, I must say, it's really good to have you on the show today. We've got 3 minutes left.
It was my turn to blow you off, Dan.
Well, you did.
Yeah.
We've been talking to you the whole time, but you've not been answering.
So there you go.
All right.
It's been kind of pleasant, really.
Yeah, it's gone really well.
Dan's got, wait, so you got to stay because Dan just got flowers for his cabin.
Yeah, I'm getting flowers.
That's comedic gold for you.
Well, we've gone through 2 movies.
What do you think of The Thing?
I'm not going to go see The Thing.
Oh, I give The Thing a great, but only barely.
I give it a great. I think it's going to be exciting.
I'm not going to go see it.
Yeah, but you're better friends with Movie Todd than me, and he would get really angry at you if you did.
I don't do horror films.
I don't even know why I'm late, Dan.
I
didn't have the kids. My wife is gone. I went to bed early. I set my alarm.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know, guys.
It
you've lost so much weight, you've just gotten lazy and you don't care.
Sometimes, apparently, I am that huge disappointment that my parents said I was. Okay, I give The Thing a great.
I give The Thing a great.
We got 2 minutes. We got one more movie.
Last movie is the remake of Footloose. The original starred Kevin Bacon. The new one stars a guy named Kenny Wormald, who has his biggest credit is dancer #1 from a Step It Up movie.
Yeah.
So relatively unknown in the hands of a remake of a film that probably really didn't need remade.
Yeah, I was going to say probably not, and the reviews I've seen on it have not been kind.
It's not faring well with the critics.
Not very kind. Is it faring well with our 2 critics? That's the question.
It doesn't fare well with
It doesn't fare well with Ryan. For some reason, I feel like we've been reviewing this film
for months.
6 months. Here's the thing is I'm actually for it. I'm going to go see this film. I actually watched an in-depth featurette on this movie, and I thought it looked like a lot of fun because it is, for the most part, a faithful retelling of the original, which for some reason I think is fun. But I do agree with Slinky, it didn't need to be remade. I think the original is so much fun that, you could go see the original. But for all these kids that have never seen the original, I think it'll be a great film. I think that the only thing that is a bit ridiculous is sort of the premise now so much later. The film, the original, I think came out in 1982?
84, I think.
84. And it was actually based on the true story of a town that they couldn't dance in.
Right.
And now it seems a little bit ridiculous that there's a town that would outlaw dancing.
Right.
Plus, the original had Kevin Bacon in it. I mean, come on.
Right. Well, but this new one has Dennis Quaid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Dennis Quaid plays the angry dad.
We got 30 seconds, so you're giving it a hate or a great?
I just barely am going to hate this one. I'm not
barely going to. You're not going to go see it.
I'm giving it a grade. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, mindless fun, but you should go see it.
Okay, go see it. And if you don't have anything to do this weekend, if you don't want to go to a movie, remember the weather's going to be great.
That's right.
Get out and enjoy the weather.
And if you're into mindless fun, which you must be if you're watching this show, then
go see Footloose. Go see Footloose.
Go see Footloose. All right. We're out of time. They tell us we have to go. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for joining us today on Tennessee Valley this morning. Have a great weekend.